Thank you everyone for joining us. Our next session is an UndocuJourney to Success, and our presenter is Giselle Rodriguez. She is the co-founder of Center for Immigrant Progress and Illinois Workers in Action. So I'm going to let Giselle take the Zoom floor.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'll just be presenting a few slides just to get some visuals. Okay, let's see. Perfect. Okay, can you guys see my screen or not yet?
It says that you're sharing, but we can't see the slides yet. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay. Now if I can just get, so I'm working with also my monitor, so I'll be back and forth, but there I am. Okay, so hi everybody. As Maria said, my name is Rodriguez. I am very happy to be here with all of you. So just as you're looking through the first slide, so just a few things that I wanted to point out, a few things that kind of speak to me, speak to the journey that I've been and like basically who I am. So as you may know, the monarch butterflies signify migration, immigrants, so I can always relate to them, and I just love how beautiful they are. So I have some butterflies there that I identify, which is a beautiful butterfly and a big part of my life, basically has shaped who I am today. Also, the globe signifies the different countries that we came from, and hopefully one day I'm able to travel back to my country of origin. And then I also put, here you can see students walking into the campus because education has played an important role in my life as well. And then I'm also a first-time mom, so I included some little feet and hands right here. But yeah, so let's get into who I am. And if at any given point you guys have any questions, you guys feel free to interrupt me or wait towards the end, whatever is best for you guys. Okay. Why is it not working? 1 second. Okay, there it went. It started working after I shared it, after I unshared it. I'll just go back to it. Zoom has been funky today, and so has my computer.
Don't worry, trust me, I know all about it for today.
Okay, there we are. Let's see if it works. Okay, perfect. Wrong slide, but that should work. Okay. Okay, I guess not. Okay. Okay, there we are. Yeah, so in this line, I just want to talk a little bit more about like my background. So again, Giselle Rodriguez. I currently hold a Master of Social Work. I also have my Pell, so I'm able to be a school social worker. And as Maria mentioned, I am the founder and director of 2 nonprofits, and I'm also a board member in different organizations having to deal with advocacy for immigrants and workers' rights. And a little bit more about myself. I'm 24 years old. I was born in Nayarit, Mexico. I migrated to the United States about 15 years ago, and I grew up partly in the city of Chicago, but also towards the end of my or early teenage years, I moved to a northern suburb. And my household growing up consisted of a mixed status family where my parents and myself were undocumented, while my 2 younger siblings were US citizens, which led to a lot of research of myself figuring out, what to do while I was a senior in high school, and then how to navigate college, everything that I'm sure the students here can relate to. Obviously, I was the first one in my family to go to college, and the first one to do it as an undocumented person. So a very unique situation. And as mentioned earlier, you have different things to balance. You have to balance academia, internships, professional life, growing up, just pretty much everything on your own and just doing the research. Okay, I'll move to this next slide. So again, there was young Giselle in the first picture to the left. As you can see in that picture, so I graduated from high school in 2015. Then I began my college journey at my community college. And as I mentioned earlier, like it was really difficult being the first one in your family trying to figure out how to go to college, and as well being undocumented. And at that time, my school was a very small high school, and they weren't really aware of the different things or different opportunities and resources that were out there for undocumented students. And even then, when bringing different universities to speak to us or going to different trips, the universities didn't really have like a undocumented friendly like financial package and none of that, so it was going to cost a fortune for me to attend a foreign university, so which is why I chose to stay local to save money, and then also kind of just explore more of what I wanted to do at with my degree. So yes, I ended up attending community college, and then in 2017 I graduated with my associate's degree. And earlier we were talking about questions of like different major. I think I listened to somebody ask like within a field of healthcare, something like that. So it got me thinking into like, for example, for me, I changed majors 3 times. So I started with wanting to do computer science, but I didn't really like that. Then I ended up trying to do business. And it's really funny to me as I remember these things. So I signed up for business, and on my first day of my business classes, I went straight to like my advisor and I dropped all my business classes. I felt so overwhelmed that same day that I just had to drop them. And I said, business is not for me. So then what I did, I took, I'm not sure what they're called now, but back then it was some sort of like personality test, and also like an academic test that kind of matched with like what careers I would be good at. And it had like teacher, nurse, social work, all of those things that relate to like giving back to the community or just helping individuals. So I sought out social work and just starting to do more research about like social work, what it was. I remember having a social worker at my high school, but I never interacted with the social work myself, but I just did a lot of research. So that is to say that it's okay, to change your major. And even as you grow in your field, it's okay to try to do different things. And for example, which is one of the reasons I chose social work, because social work is very, very diverse. You can go from doing therapy, case management, to doing nonprofit work, policy, literally anything. Like it's really, really diverse. So then in 2017, I graduated. So after I got my associate's degree in arts, then I transitioned to for university, and I chose to continue my educational career at Northeastern Illinois University. The reason of why I chose to do that was because they offered a lot of help, financial help, and also a lot of guidance when it came to my career as an undocumented scholar. They had various clubs in place that just kind of made me feel at home and kind of knew what my focus was. So I chose to be at NEIU. And here you can see I put like a quote. It says, so in Spanish, la única cosa que nunca nadie te podrá quitar la educación. So the one thing that no one can ever take from you is your education, which I always like my mom has always said that to me, like nobody can take your education away from you. So just for us to continue with our education, no matter like what obstacles we face, like that's something that nobody can take away from you. And it's me personally, like, as I can imagine you as well, like I feel that education is very valuable, and it's just kind of helped us in many different ways, like meet individuals, explore what we want to do, and it obviously helps us advance, in our career as well. And then in 2019, I graduated from NEIU with my master's in social work. Um, and again, there I was pretty involved with my different clubs. I was in a social work club, being the liaison. I did, and one thing that to keep in mind, as you may know, scholarships are very, very important. And as it's getting better now, because I know back in back when I used to apply for scholarships, many of the scholarships required you to be a DACA recipient or a resident. But now I feel like a lot of scholarships are getting better where they don't request those things. Like you can be undocumented without DACA, TPS, or some sort of like immigration status, which is a good thing because I dealt with a lot of those things that, okay, I met all the criteria except for being documented for a scholarship. But an important, very pivotal and important thing for me was applying to scholarships. I didn't really apply to any scholarships while I was in community college, just because the cost wasn't as high, and I was also working, so I somehow managed to just pay it okay. But I should have applied to scholarships back then, but honestly, nobody really taught me to do that. But then when it came to transferring to a four university, hey, the cost is way more expensive. Like there are some things that you have to keep in mind, books, supplies, etc. if you're commuting. So I've always been a commuter as well. So commuting, gas, all that you have to take into consideration. So what I started to do was applying to scholarships, and I had a ton of scholarships. And I kind of just motivate you more, like the first time you get a scholarship, it motivates you to apply it to three more. So the more scholarships you apply to, the more chances you have of getting more resources for yourself. So that's basically what I did. From now, as I recall, I don't think I had to pay anything to finish up my undergrad because of the scholarships that I applied to. And I was very involved in my community as well. So after, and then I was also, because I was very involved in my community with different advocacy for workers, for immigrants, I landed a part-time gig with a community organization, which also helped me, get more money for books or for whatever it is that I needed, as well as help me kind of find out what I wanted to do with myself and my career. And then in 2020, so still 2019, all of my classmates were talking about grad school, and I really wasn't sure if I could afford it or if I wanted to do grad school. But then I started doing again more research on what schools I would want to attend, if they provided some type of financial assistance, that type of stuff. So I ended up applying to the University of Chicago. I got in, specifically the School of Social Service Administration, now has a different name. So I ended up being at SSA, and I was lucky enough to get a full ride to continue my education. And again, that's why it's so important to always ask for funding to see where the university can help you just for your education, and also not only school or university scholarships, but also having funding outside of that is really important too. And then I'll go to my next slide. Okay, perfect. And I really wanted to mention internship because I don't think it's talked enough in the undocumented community. When we're searching for internships, it can be a really difficult point. And I feel like internships are really important. Like I said, like here in the slide, I think it's vital for your growth. You meet new individuals, connections, and you get to find your interest and your path and your passion, and essentially what you want to do for the rest of your life. Like, not to be dramatic, because like I said, you can change as many times as you want, but I feel like internships are a big part of your decision making at that time. And going back to what I said, I don't think a lot of individuals knew or students knew what it was, how to figure out how to find an internship. Because, for example, for me, my undergrad internship was at the Zachariah Sexual Abuse Center, which is located in Gurnee, Illinois. So what I did then, I helped out um, a lot of victims from sexual abuse that were sexually assaulted, but I mainly did presentations K through 12th grade about like what sexual abuse was and other different things. But it was really hard for me to find an internship while undergrad because I wanted to do a behavioral institute because of my status, not having DACA or any type of work authorization, they were unable to allow me to do internship. So it was really limited on the different choices I had and what I was interested in. However, my internship there at the Zachariah Center was really, really wonderful. I met like wonderful people, and it kind of just helped me figure out what I wanted to do and what type of population I would want to work as a social worker. So then after that, I also had an internship for grad school, which again was another difficult point in my life. As I mentioned earlier, I am allowed to be a school, I have the certification to be a school social worker. And so with that, I had to do a internship at a school, which again, the internship process was really hard. I got interviewed, everything was really perfect. They wanted me to be the intern for social work. However, when it came to me asking, okay, like, is there any issue with me being undocumented? They didn't really knew what that meant. So I kind of had to like explain to them, okay, undocumented means that I don't have like no like permission or authorization, like no social to like work. So it was a whole different thing. Like it was like a back and forth thing. They're like, okay, well, do you have a visa? And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you an international student? I'm like, no, like I'm none of those. I'm just like, I'm undocumented. Like I don't have any documentation. That's like literally what it means. So basically ended up that I did do the internship there. However, social work interns within the district that I did my internship were granted a 9,000 stipend. And because of my status, I wasn't able to receive that stipend. UFC tried really hard to get me that stipend through a scholarship, through like a check, through academic, anything, but I don't know, it just didn't work out. So this is why I say like it's really important to do your research on internships because they are really important. And then you also, you need internships to graduate with your degree. But it is a difficult path or a rough patch that you have to go through. And I think now a good thing is that a lot of nonprofits, community organizations are offering those specific internships because they know what it was or how it was like. For example, and I'll talk about it later too. Like for example, I do provide internships, whether it because you need it your last year of undergrad or just 50 hours of community service, whatever it may be. We do offer internships. But I'll go to my next slide. Okay, and here are just some pictures again of myself and some of the work that I've done. Like I said, I've always been very involved in advocacy, and I'm just very interested of what we can get done using our voice and just being there present, because at the end of the day, like, yes, we are undocumented, but we also deserve the right and deserve a place at the table and where we want to be involved. So here are just some pictures from Spring Lobby Weekend. I think it was in 2019. So before I graduated from NEIU, we were able to go to Washington, D.C. and be there for Lobby Week. We were advocating for DHS to not have enough or to limit their budget for ICE and other things. And again, this is just some other things I've been part of. This is 2018, so process I've done downtown. Here, just different times that I've spoken in downtown Chicago, abolishing ICE, fighting for immigrants, that type of stuff. As you can see, I'm pretty pretty involved and pretty passionate. Okay, so now, well, currently what I am doing now. So I am the Director of Education for the Center for Immigrant Progress. This organization was founded by 6 young immigrant women from Lake County and McHenry County. And the reason why we chose to found Center for Immigrant Progress was because we weren't finding an organization or some sort of space that allowed for us to continue to do our advocacy and elevate immigrant narratives that highlight like the different intersectionalities, and just have a space for like the undocumented students, parents, anybody who wanted to be involved. So which is why we created the Center for Immigrant Progress. With this, we seek to have promote opportunities and education for civic engagement, again, for you, parents, building community awareness on the different issues that impact immigrants, connecting families to the resources that they need, and advocating for the policies that promote the well-being and sustainability of our communities. And for example, so Center for Immigrant Progress, CIP for short, is mainly focused in Lake County and McHenry County, so northern Illinois suburbs. However, we do participate in the city of Chicago and are expanding. But with that, so in the city, in the northern suburbs, it's not like CPS where they have a very diverse and built team that support undocumented students throughout high school. In the suburbs, it's not like that. A lot of schools don't provide that support because whether it be like some advisors or counselors are not knowledgeable. The school doesn't have the funds, that type of stuff. So then our job my job specifically at the Center for Immigrant Progress is to talk to undocumented students, but also talk to staff in high schools and let them know, feel like it's required for you to do presentations for your staff, educating them on the resources that undocumented students have, and then also provide some type of resources for your students that are here. So basically, again, connecting students for the resources, scholarships, because again, like growing up, like, and I've met a lot of different students, but like even us growing up and my friends, that we all knew that we were undocumented. Some of them thought, okay, well, I don't want to go to college or I don't want to finish high school. Like I just want to graduate or get my GED and start working because again, like there's no point. But obviously there is a point. There are ways to get around or to work although you are undocumented. So just a little bit more about like the Center for Immigrant Progress, specifically what I do. And again, like if anybody is interested, reach out to me if you're interested in advocacy or learning any type of thing. Again, reach out to me. And then Illinois Workers in Action is an organization that I founded myself, the executive director as well. And again, because being immigration and workers' rights intersect like all the time. So we see that all the time. And I've always been very invested in immigrant workers, knowing their rights, because many times, for example, my mom, she worked at factories and she just would get, verbally abused. They wouldn't pay her, just get taken advantage because they don't know their rights. And the employer takes advantage of that because they'll say, okay, well, you're undocumented. If you say something or, if you form a committee or if you bring workers, then I'm going to call ICE. Just so they put fear into our communities and into our parents, into the workers. So I really wanted to create, again, with the experience that I had prior in working with worker organization, create an organization where we can help the immigrant community, but also kind of unite the Latinx and Black communities working together to advance systemic change, because at the end of the day, community colors are the ones, who are being treated less than. So Illinois Workers in Action, again, is an organization that empowers workers, and it's mostly done through education, so training, making sure that they know their rights, organizing in the workplace if they have any type of issue, trying to change policy. And for example, some of the issues that we work with are wage theft, non-payment of wages. If they have any violations where their employer doesn't want to give their break, and meal breaks that they have, gender-based discrimination, race and color discrimination, sexual harassment, work injury, any type of things you can think of that you're being taken advantage at work, is what we help with. And we were also work with different lawyers that take on the cases if you don't have obviously any money, and that is a nonprofit, that's the work that we do. And then because of COVID, we were doing a lot of trainings around COVID, just because a lot of factories, they didn't have hand sanitizer, thermometers, masks, like they weren't really following protocol. So we had a lot of complaints about that. But again, like if anybody's interested in any work around advocacy policy where it has to do with immigration or workers, and again, they both intersect for education with undocumented students, whatever it is, I'm here to help. But that's a little bit more about Illinois Workers in Action. And again, going through this journey of being undocumented, and this session is called, UndocuJourney to Success, which thank you, Maria, for saying success. But I'm still not done. Like there are so many things that I want to accomplish, and I'm very thankful to be where I am now. Like all of this stuff that I have been able to do is with like one mission, one goal of just giving back to like our community and bringing these resources back, again, to the undocumented students that I'm offering, help and guidance that wasn't available there for me or for other students. So it is possible to do this. And if anybody has any questions of like, okay, like how do you start a nonprofit? What do you have to do? Also be very, I'll be more than happy to share with you the steps that I took. If you need advice and that type of stuff, I can help as well. Let's see, what's my next slide? Okay, I think this is my last slide. Okay, yeah, so my last slide is just, so that's my personal email that you can email me to. But I also have LinkedIn, but I was checking it today and I'm so bad at using LinkedIn. Like I had some messages that I didn't really know they were there. And like I said, I'm a first-time mom, so I was gone for quite a while. So I wasn't really checking in on LinkedIn, but now I'm trying to be more present with the work that I'm doing now and how to reach and be very accessible to individuals. But yeah, that's my email if anybody wants to take it down, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have about my college career or scholarships, nonprofit work, immigration, workers' rights, anything. Feel free to ask.
So we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If anybody has a question, you could jot it down on the chat or just unmute your microphone. Andrea, you could go ahead.
What were some of the places that you went when you were looking for scholarships or like websites? What were the resources you used for that?
Yeah, so it has been quite a while, but I remember, so for example, at NEIU, so the first thing that I would do is reach out to the scholarship person in charge. I don't remember what their title would be. And if they had like an undocumented, resource-friendly individual, so that I would reach out to them. I remember back then, I think Luvia was there, so I would reach out to her and see if she had any type of like information that I could use. So I would say like two different things. So first, look within the university and see what they offer and what you can get. So that's what I did. So I believe I applied to all the scholarships per semester that were available. So then that's how I would get funding within the school. But then I also received scholarships outside of the school that were also connected to community work that you were doing. So going back to what you have done maybe within your community, if you're involved in any type of like club or help or anything like that. But then you can also just search like different things that you're interested in. Like for example, whichever field you are in or whatever your major would be, you can just easily search on Google a scholarship for, whatever social work or whatever it may be, right? I would type in scholarship for Latina social work, and there are like different orgs that would come up that specifically because you are Latina or you're Latinx and you're a woman and you're trying to be a social worker, first generation, then that scholarship were applied to you. So I think it's like you can also like, it could also be a very like tailored scholarship for you that's out there. But specifically for undocumented students in the state of Illinois, there are many different different organizations. I can't think of them on the top of my head, but I can send them to you afterwards. But I know like different, or like for example, the Center for Inward Progress, and I forgot to send it to Maria because again, I've been I was out for a while and I'm slowly coming back after having the child. But like we just had 2 scholarships to fund undocumented students. So I think also like whatever community organization is in your area to try to look out for them if they're like an immigrant community that does that thing, probably mostly would have some sort of scholarship. But I can send you some more information about scholarships.
Yes,
If you
please.
email
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah. So I'll have my email in this chat. Oops. Okay, there it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So going to grad school, I know you said one of the challenges was like the internship part, right? But what other challenges did you encounter? And how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I think especially with going to like such a high institution as like UFC, we like me and my fellow classmates would talk about like us being Hispanic, Latinos, and undocumented. Sometimes we would feel out of place, and I think somebody mentioned it before, like the imposter like syndrome would come up sometimes. We're like, okay, well we like it's like we just have like different emotions going on, like how we're feeling being at this white institution, but then kind of like grounding ourselves like, no, like we're here for a reason, we deserve to be here, we deserve to have a space here and be able to talk about our experience, which is a valuable experience and everybody can learn from it. So I think that was one of the many I guess not issues, but just things that happen. Because I wasn't the only undocumented person at SSA. We were probably like 10 or so that we could all like relate to each other and just talk about like the different things that we were going through. So I think definitely like that internships for one, as I mentioned before. And then also like just in general, like the amount of reading that you have to do for grad school is insane. Like there's so much reading, like you basically never have a break from reading. So everybody's like on their phone reading, or if you print into articles you're reading, or your laptop, if you take the train home you're reading, like it's a lot of work. And then also I guess another challenge again would be to really try and figure out, well, a challenge that we overcame was really trying to figure out what it is that we wanted to do. So for example, at SSA, they offered a clinical or an admin track. So I took the clinical track, which is why I did school social work. but then all of my electives were admin classes. So which is kind of why I do administrative work, but also I interact with individuals on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's really important for you to figure out like what it is that you want to do within the school that you're going. And also something that was really accessible for us was shadowing individuals. So there was a big list of alumni that we can reach out to and say like, hey, like we're interested in learning more about your job. Like, what do I do? Like, what do you do? Can I shadow you? And again, like, so that we can have an idea, okay, that's something that I would like, or no, like I would not like that at all. Like, I don't even want to get into that field. So I think that's also very important.
What is one piece of advice you would give students that are trying to open up their own business right after they graduate, Giselle? Knowing everything that you've gone through, having your 2 non-for-profits, grad school, everything, what would be like a piece of advice you would give to students?
I would say, I think you really have to sit down with yourself and come up with and as the professor was mentioning earlier, like you have to have a business plan, because it is a business. You're going, like, this is your work that you're putting everything into, right? So you want it to come out perfect, you want it to come out good, but that's not going to happen if you don't put time and effort in. So you have to have a good, not just a good plan overall for whatever it is that you're trying to build. For example, you have to look at a budget, like who's going to give you money? How are you going to sell something? How are you going to sell it? Also, you have to make sure to really advertise the business or yourself, right? So you're gonna have to create a website, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right? Making sure that you're very aware on like how to use those tools and how to connect with individuals. And for example, at the nonprofit level, you seek grants. So you seek whether it be state, local grants, federal grants, grants from private foundations, right? So whenever you're seeking a grant, they ask you all these questions. Okay, what does your organization do? How are you going to use this money? Is the money going to be used to pay your employees? Is it going to be used for a specific program? Like, what are you going to do with that money? Because at the end of the day, they are giving you that money, but you have to be able to say what you did with that money. So always like having everything like in paperwork and having a plan, because like it is like I love to dream, when I tell people like dream big as much as you can or as much as you want, but like you have to be able to have something like written down on paper, like your plan. And you don't have to limit yourself to just like one thing. You can write all of your ideas and see what you can come up with from that. So I would just say like having a plan, and then also going for it. Like if you want to start your business, like yes, have your plan, but like you can go for it. Don't wait around too much. would be my advice.